What's going on, you guys? If you're first starting out in FPV, you will come across literally thousands of products, accessories, and best practices, and it can be truly daunting. There are 10 basic components of an FPV drone that you need if you want to fly, and those components are pilot, video system, RC system, charger, battery, flight controller slash speed controller, motors, frame, and of course the propellers. And that's it. That's all you need to get something in the air. I have the very first one listed as pilot, and that's as a reminder that no amount of gear or products or accessories will make you better. You are the most important piece of gear that you can get, and the only way to improve yourself is by practice. So practice more. But yeah, this list, it's still a lot of things. I understand that, and this can run you anywhere from $300 to upwards of $1,000 for a typical 3 to 5 inch setup. But the good news is you only need to buy 3 of these products one time if you choose the right products. And those things are the RC system, the video system, and of course a charger. Now starting with the RC, if you buy a good RC transmitter right from the start, it will last you literally years and quite possibly your whole FPV career with the proper care. And to give you an example of what not to do, when I first started out, I just had my Spectrum DX6 transmitter that I used for just, bind and fly airplanes from Horizon Hobby. But when that Spectrum DX6 wasn't cutting it anymore, I upgraded to a Tyrannus with just the native Access and ACCST protocols, and those are dog shit. So when that didn't cut it, I upgraded to the R9 system by FreeSky, but it was still sketchy. And then finally, I upgraded to Express LRS, which I should have done a long time ago because I haven't had any issues since. But my point is this. I went through 3 different radio systems before I finally landed on something that's affordable, reliable, and actually works well. If I had just spent the extra money up front instead of trying to be cheap, like, I don't know, maybe went with Crossfire instead of the whole 3 radio system path, then I'd most likely still be using that today, and I would have skipped this whole 3 radio thing altogether. So that was dumb on my part, and that is why I rank the RC transmitter as #1 on the priority list. But you know what the best part about buying a good radio right away is? Yeah, I mean, it's nice stuff, it's cool gear, but it's actually that you can practice in the simulator right away with a good controller that you won't get rid of anytime soon. And if you're a beginner, that's really nice. The last thing you want as a beginner is to get used to one of those crappy beta FPV ready to fly controllers. And then when you realize you love FPV and you get a better controller, now you gotta learn a whole new thing, it's totally different. Don't do that. Just get a good one right from the start. You'll be glad you did. Moving on to #2, I have the video system. Now when I say video system, I'm referring mostly to just the goggles. And many times the goggles are the most expensive part of your entire setup. So it makes sense to choose this super expensive component that you'll have for a long time wisely. And what I mean by that is if you picture yourself flying mostly bandos or forests or anything like that, range and penetration are your top priorities. And conversely, if you are racing, low latency and durability are your priorities. And in my opinion, once you've selected your little niche that you fall into, get a good pair of goggles, because just like the RC, they will grow with you and they won't be holding you back all the time. And to give another example of my mistakes in the past, what I first started with was a little analog FPV screen that I had from a different project. See a pattern here? Then I upgraded to a small box goggle set, then to real analog goggles, then to rapid fire, and then finally to the DJI goggles 2, which I use now. So there's all these steps that I went through when I could have just bought like a DJI goggles V2 back in the day and just skip that whole analog phase altogether. That's what I should have done. But spending less now only to spend more later is a really common problem in this hobby, and it's easy to fall victim to. It's really easy to see $600 for a new set of goggles and say, no, I'm gonna take the $100 goggles instead. That's easy to do, but I'm telling you, it ends up being more expensive in the long run, believe me. And you know what? If you're rich and you have the money, buy whatever you want. This doesn't apply to you. Like the RC and the video system, a good charger will last you forever. In fact, it might be the longest lasting piece of gear you'll ever own, and that is why it deserves a high ranking. Now, those of you that have been into some form of RC for a while now know that chargers are notoriously finicky. They're buggy, they burn out, and a lot of the time they just don't have the power that you'd need when you get further and further into the hobby. So that's why, in my opinion and personal experience, spending $200 right from the jump on a good charger is always going to be a better option than selecting the China Special. Now, another thing worth noting is a good charger can balance your batteries and store them much more effectively than a shitty charger. And those of you that know anything about LiPos know that is absolutely critical to prolong the life and performance of your battery as long as possible. Batteries are something that I'm very, very passionate about, and if you want to learn a little bit more about them, kind of the basics and how they work, check out my video on LiPos in the description down below. Now, when selecting a charger, reviews are your best friend here, because as I stated before, they can be quite finicky and buggy, so you want to see if other people are having issues with them. And if you see the same thing keep popping up with a certain manufacturer and a certain model, probably avoid that model. Don't go cheap on the thing that is handling the huge amount of power from your LiPos. Just buy a good charger once and keep it forever. Literally. All right, well, that about wraps this one up. I really hope this helps someone out there currently swimming in the sea of FPV gear and just having trouble deciding what their next steps are, like what do they even need? I really hope this helped that person. And just to recap, the top items to prioritize your spending on if you're just starting out, especially if you're on a tight budget, are the RC transmitter, video system, and a good charger. I believe these three things are the foundation of having a good experience in this hobby. And like I said before, with a lot of these things, you buy a good one time and you have it forever. All right, you guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate if you drop me a like down below, leave me a comment, and please hit subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, keep ripping, keep wrecking, and keep learning. Peace.